G'day mate, and welcome to the final chapter of my 3-part series where I show you how to tame the big 3 wilderness bosses, RTO, Calvarion, and Spindel, while using their unique environments and attacks to your advantage to destroy absolutely everyone, make some easy money, and have a good time. Finishing off with Spindel. Located further north of Ferox at level 29 Wilderness, in the northeast corner of the eastern ruins we will find the Web Chasm, home to the deadly spider, Spindel. While this boss is fairly simple as it attacks in a set pattern with its basic ranged and magic attacks, make a mistake and the punishment can be brutal. Throughout the fight, Spindel will routinely summon spiderlings to increase its damage before shooting out its most deadly attack, the webs. If you're caught in these, your energy, prayer, and health will all be rapidly drained, but combine your attacks with Spindel's and catch another player in the webs and you'll be able to stick it to absolutely anyone. Spindel will always attack in a consistent 16 attack rotation that can be broken down into 4 phases. For its basic attacks, it will continuously shoot 2 sets of 4 ranged attacks followed by 2 sets of 4 magic attacks if the targeted player is at a distance, while attacking any player close by with melee instead. The ranged attack has a base max hit of 31, 24 for magic, and 14 for melee. Though its melee attack is quite unique, since if the targeted player is within melee distance, all players will be attacked with melee even if they're at a distance. Spindel will constantly swap between targeted players, and unlike the other bosses, it won't chase after them. Instead, after every 4th attack, it will quickly dart to a random location within the lair before starting its next phase of attacks. For its special attacks, upon spawning and each time Spindel enters phase 1 of its attack rotation, it will summon a pair of spiderlings. The spiderlings themselves are weak, but their melee attacks will drain 1 prayer point per attack, and for each spiderling left alive, Spindel's attacks will be powered up, gaining additional chip damage that can hit through prayer. And lastly, during phase 3, at the time of Spindel's 3rd magic attack, it will launch its web at the targeted player's location, covering up to a 5x5 area with web that will rapidly drain the vitals of any player left standing in it. Every game tick, the web will drain run energy by 10 and prayer and health by 3, and lasts up until Spindel re-enters its 2nd range phase, which is a considerably long time of 24 seconds or 40 game ticks, making this one of the most brutal attacks in the game when used to our advantage. So when going for a hunt within Spindel's lair, we'll need to synchronize our prayers and attacks with Spindel to minimize damage taken and maximize damage dealt. Identify where Spindel is at in its attack rotation and protect accordingly while keeping your distance and attacking your opponent with opposite styles, allowing you to combine your attacks and catch them off prayer. Upon entering, we can scope out where Spindel is at in its rotation quickly by paying attention to its attacks and whether or not the webs are out, or more easily by watching its attack style upon moving. If the webs are out when Spindel is maging, its next phase will be ranged, and if there are no webs out and Spindel is ranging, the next phase will be magic. Keep in tune with Spindel's attack cycle and prepare for its special attacks while lining up a chance to take your target down. The spiderlings aren't much of a threat on their own, but make sure to watch your prayer and health if any are about, as they will start to chip away and allow Spindel to hit through prayer. Most importantly, we'll want to be prepared for the punishing web attack. The best strategy is to freeze your opponent just after Spindel switches into its magic phase. Come in close until Spindel fires its web, then step back and go all out. Hit them with some ranged attacks while Spindel eats away with its web and magic attacks before rushing in and taking them out with a strong melee finisher. Unless they're stacked with combo food, there'll be nothing they can do about it. Spindel's lair is quite big, and since players hunting it are forced to chase it around, we're often going to catch them deep enough to freeze them multiple times. After teleblocking, go for an entangle straight away to trap your target as deep as possible, then figure out where Spindel is at in its attack rotation and plan out your attack. Sometimes we'll be lucky enough to catch them in the webs right away, and other times we'll need to line it up for our second freeze. Spindel is only ever killed with melee or ranged, so most PVMers aren't too much of a threat, but we will find anti-PKers of all sorts out here. If they start fighting back with ranged, be prepared for the occasional vengeance and rush, and when fighting in the lair, if Spindel is maging, keep an eye on your health and try to flick your protection prayers if possible. But if we catch them in the webs, we should have all the momentum. However, if they've brought some magic gear, things are going to get a little interesting. Whoever freezes the other in the webs is going to take the upper hand, so try to keep your opponent on the back foot throughout the fight and time your freezes well. But make sure to keep some emergency combo food and a stamina just in case things don't go to plan. If we don't manage to take them down in the webs, the next best play is to go for a KO while we've still got them in the lair. If they make it outside, it really isn't too difficult to escape with freezes due to the small fenced area blocking our line of sight from all directions. A decent ranged and magic based outlast setup is best suited here. Ranged shields in particular will give you much better odds at avoiding freezes and gaining momentum from a distance, and pair great with two-handed melee spec weapons like the Ancient Gourdsword for its additional damage and healing effect, or the Armadillo Gourdsword and Dragon Claws for their high damage potential. If they head south, they've got a lot of ground to cover, so having a decent magic bonus will allow you to land more freezes and keep them locked in combat for as long as possible, giving you more opportunities to KO or eventually outlast your target. Venom applied from a toxic staff and the extra specs from a light bearer can really add up in a long fight, making it easy to burn through their supplies. But be aware that the entire area north and east is multi-combat, so our target could send it into multi and call for backup, though a lot of the time they will just be bluffing and hoping that we don't follow, but chase at your own risk. Alright, now let's break down a few kills. Once we've scouted out a player, we get ourselves ready and drop into the lair. We send a TB and entangle as usual and start chipping away. Spindel has just phased into its magic attack while there aren't any webs out, so we're sure it's about to send them, so we swap to protect magic while coming in close to our target to make sure they get caught. We line up a chance to send our specs and take them down. Can't get much easier than that. However, we're not always going to catch our target at the perfect time. Here we've caught them while the web is already out and a set of spiderlings have just spawned, meaning the Spindel has just switched into range, so we're best off going for a KO. As soon as we get a decent chance, we run in and hit them with our spec, combined with a big hit from Spindel, then take them out with a big whack. Here on my pure, we've caught our target just as Spindel has spawned. This time we're in more of an outlast setup, so without as much KO potential, we're best off keeping them trapped in the lair for as long as possible while lining up a play to get them caught in the webs. We go for our second freeze as soon as they're unfrozen and keep chipping away. Our hits are a little underwhelming and we noodle on our specs. Now Spindel has switched to magic while they're about to become unfrozen, so instead of coming in close we head towards the exit and our 50-50 chance of having the web sent at us comes through as we cut off their only exit. They run through the webs and now we've got them right where we want them. A few decent hits combined with Spindel's attacks and it's all over. This time we've logged into a world with a scout, and while we can't do much about scouting, they're not always going to be paying attention, so if we rush in straight away we might just catch them off guard. We catch them during Spindel's last magic phase, so we're unlikely to get them in the webs this time, so we'll just try to get off as much damage as possible. They end up making it out of the lair just as Spindel throws out its web, but the hunt isn't over yet. They send it back into the lair, which is the last thing you want to do if you're trying to escape. We keep up with them and instead of going for the refreeze straight away, we wait for them to cross into the webs and now they're in a sticky situation. We noodle on our AGS spec, but looks like they're all out of supplies as the web slowly drains their HP to 0. But if your target ends up running north or east, beware of the multi-lines as well as the 30+ wilderness line, as they could have some backup on the way. Though a lot of the time they'll just be bluffing, so go with your gut feel, and if you don't mind risking it, you don't need to be too scared of following them in. Thankfully there's no one waiting for us as they become unfrozen. We catch another freeze deeper into multi and try to go for a quick KO, but don't get enough damage to take them out here, but we're not pulling out now. They hop on over the Lava Dragon agility shortcut requiring 74 agility, but that's not going to save them this time. They tell us to wait there, but I don't think I will. Looks like they're all out of tricks now as we catch them sitting on low HP, but not before a random PVM comes by to spook us. All good, we finish them off and get the heck out of here. However, sometimes they'll be a little more prepared to fight back. Here we catch another fella with a chain mace and a crystal shield. They whip out their rune crossbow and the fight is on. We get some big bolts right away as Spindel throws out its web, so we rush in with the AGS, getting a big chance right away, but it lets us down. They're still keen to battle as they keep on bolting us back. After a little bit of a scrap, we end up splashing our entangle as the next set of webs come out and take a little bit of damage as they turn around and hit us with a big AGS spec, but we hit our combo eats just in time to avoid giving them a chance. They go for it once more when they're unfrozen, but this time we see it coming and send one right back at them. Unlucky to not take them out here, but now we've got them on the ropes as they exit the lair and start to head south, but they've got a long way to go to make it out of the wilderness. We eventually catch a freeze and keep on chipping away while trying to keep our tank gear on for their hits. We make sure to click them with our staff out in between hits as they go for their next run to stay tight to them. They try to juke us on the run, but it doesn't quite pay off for them as we catch them one last time before getting a decent surge into an AGS whack to finish them off. Over on the Pure, we dropped in on a level 105 max med level. We could be biting off more than we can chew with this one, but we'll see how it goes. We splash our first TB, but they're keen for the fight as they immediately start bolting us back. They're playing it nice and aggressive, which is exactly what they want to be doing, so we make sure to eat up between hits and flick our prayers when possible. We're starting to get worked here, so once we've got them under control, we stand under them to calm things down while eating up to full HP before turning things around. Spindel has just switched into its magic phase, so we line up some dagger specs as the webs come down, but he makes it out. The battle for momentum is back on as we both start taking some damage, but we play it smart and brew up while bolting him back in between sips. While he's sitting on low HP, we take our opportunity to send another spec and the dagger comes through with a nice KO. And a nice 4.8mm loot. Worth the risk. Occasionally we'll come up against anti-PKers with a full magic switch. The last thing we want is to be caught in the webs while our opponent is unfrozen, so if they whip out some robes, it's typically best to come in close when Spindel starts maging and freeze them just before the webs come out so that we can bait the webs onto them if they're sent at us, and if our opponent freezes us back, then we'll both be caught in the webs, preventing them from taking full advantage. We both end up catching each other next to each other as the webs come down, so we make good use of our ancient goldsword specs and absolutely tear through them without too much trouble. But things don't always go to plan. Here we've dropped in on a fella in a decent tank setup just as they've taken out the boss. The loot's trash, but they're ready for the fight as they switch into some bloodbark and hit us with a nice barrage. They aren't going anywhere, so we waste no time trying to freeze them now and get straight into the battle for momentum. Spindel has just respawned, so once we're steady, we start hitting them with some magic attacks while switching to our tank gear in between hits. We eat up as Spindel switches into its magic phase and go for the freeze, but the luck is against us as we splash 3 times in a row and our opponent catches us in the webs. We go for one last freeze before we need to start brewing, and we're lucky enough to catch this one, preventing them from coming back in with melee. Now we just start chugging brews while trying to flick our prayers in between attacks, and we make it out without too much trouble. They hit us with another barrage as we get a big surge, but they stand under us while recovering, so we use this time to get ourselves ready for the magic phase coming up. Spindel throws down its web as we become unfrozen and our opponent runs out, but we just catch them on the edge of the web. We get caught away from them, but now we've got all the momentum as we start to get a few bolt chances. They make it out of the webs, but we catch another freeze and keep the pressure up with some AGS wax off prayer. They head for the exit and we miss our freeze as the webs come down, but we're still on the hunt as we catch them outside of the lair. They're going to easily be able to get a log out escape behind the trees if they catch us back at the right time, so we quickly get ourselves set for one last KO attempt. We swap into Magic and get a big surge followed up with a massive chance from the AGS as they catch us with the freeze, but the crossbow comes in clutch and we take them out with a big bolt just in time. 1.3 mil loot, we'll take it. However, if you're new to pking and not looking for too much trouble, then taking out some bots can be some good practice. Most Spindel bots are pretty basic and don't fight back, but will trigger an escape upon detecting a player in most pking gear, but if we enter the lair in a setup that doesn't set off their teleport, we can scope them out for some easy kills. We say g'day and get no response, so we're sure we've got a bot here. We wait until Spindel is just about to swap into its magic phase and pop our TB. They're straight onto the gas and we miss them with our first freeze, but we catch them with the second and Spindel throws down its web. We hit them with our chain-based spec, piling on some extra damage on top of the web and finish them off with a single bolt as all that damage stacks up. Easy 350k, can't complain about that. Overall, I'd say the average loot you'll get from PVMers is somewhere between 300 to 600k. A fair bit better than Calvarion, but a close second to Artio, though we do find big riskers out here a little more often. And with a fair chance to smite our target, we can sometimes snatch a +1. Here we've dropped in on a fella with a max cape and a Zuck helm, so we can bet that they're good at the game. But even then there was still nothing they could do when we caught them in the webs and threw on our smite, as we get a big bolt followed up with a nice AGS spec, dropping his prayer before Spindel comes through and finishes them off. And we claim his Zuck helm, closest I'll ever come to having one of those. However, my biggest loot from a PVMer at Spindel was actually on my Pure when we found someone risking it all on a high risk world. They've got a scout, but that doesn't save them as we rush in and catch the TB. A bit of shaky clicks to start off with, but we lock in and get down to business. We get a decent surge followed up with a big G-Maul combo, taking them out quickly. And that's a chain mace into the bank. But to give you a true feel for the average kill, let's send 3 in a row on my Pure and then on the main to see what it's like at lower and higher combat levels. First up, we drop in on a level 94 that seems to be a bot. We splash our first TB, but not many of them have the hard diaries completed, so they don't always instantly teleport and sometimes bug out. We eventually catch our TB and entangle and start chipping away. We hit them with some magic while Spindel is ranging and switch it up when Spindel starts to mage. We line up a dagger spec and take them out before they make it out. Now this spot is a fair distance from a bank, so if we get some clean kills and feel comfortable sticking around, we can go for a few kills in a trip to really speed things up. We hop through a couple worlds to find someone within our combat level and stumble upon a level 92 Iron Man in full rune and a dragon mace. Not expecting too much from this, I'd normally look for something better, but in the name of science we'll see what they've got. We combo some nice damage with Spindel right away and should have gone for the spec here, but we decide to play it slow and line them up for the webs. We sit back and fire some surges, shredding through their melee armor while waiting for the right time to freeze. As soon as Spindel switches into magic, we go for our entangle and catch them in the webs. We just sit back and bolt them down while we have a little bit of a laugh on his way out. We're still pretty good on supply, so we brew up to full HP and reset our stats before looking for this last kill. We drop in on a level 94, which is unfortunately another bot, so not much chance of anything interesting happening, but we'll happily take their loot. We catch them at a good time just as Spindel switches into magic. We throw in a couple of Vabby dagger specs as the webs come down, putting on our smite as we get a big KO and manage to drop their prayer as well. Nice and quick one, now let's get out of here and see what we get. Okay, not too bad, 488k for the first one, decent loot for a bot with a few loots from Spindel as well, 158k from the Iron Man, not too much as expected, and 352k from the last one, looks like we only smited a glory. Still, that adds up to 1 mil in total, pretty good for about 10 to 15 minutes work. Over a full hour, I'd say we could rake in about 5 mil pretty consistently out here on a pure or a med level. Now let's see what we find over on the main. First up, we drop in on a level 104 just as Spindel throws out its web. We're not going to be able to catch them in the webs this time, so we'll try and line up a KO. We butter them up and get a massive 52 bolt spec followed up with an ancient Gourdsword spec, getting a massive chance as we bolt them on the run, but we follow up with a Gourdsword whack as they exit the lair and get the KO on the other side. We hop through a few worlds on the hunt for our next target and end up having a few people get the teleport off, but we eventually catch ourselves a level 105 bot. We go for a quick KO in the lair and get a few chances off, but no luck yet. They make it out of the exit, but we keep up and stay on them. They're only protecting from magic while spamming their food, so after quite a long and boring fight, we eventually outlast them and head back to the lair to get this last key. We hop through a few more worlds before coming across the first guy that got their telly off on us, but this time we catch our TB. We then catch our freeze at the perfect time as Spindel hits us with the web, but our damage really lets us down. They make it out of the webs, but we catch another freeze and keep the pressure up. They end up making it out of the lair, but we catch them outside and keep on chipping away. They don't seem to have much of an escape plan and end up running back towards the lair to try to get a gap on us as we splash a few freezes, but we keep on clicking them as soon as we see that XP drop to keep up with them. We catch them one last time and get a decent bolt and take them out with the ancient Gourdsword. Now let's check out this loot. Alright, a solid 3 mil from the first key, more than I was expecting. We get a black mask, some parchment cash and a few other goodies. A humble 300k from the bot, mostly an ether, and about 600k from the last key. Nice average loot, some ether, some boss drops and a little bit of gear. 3.9 mil all up for about 15 minutes work, that's over 15 mil an hour. A bit more than average there since we did get a big one. I'd say that we could average about 6 to 8 mil more consistently, but it just goes to show how much potential there is. But if we want to claim the biggest rewards on offer out here, then we're going to have to take a risk and take on the other PKers. When fighting in the lair, things can get a little bit hairy. Besides your opponent's attacks, Spindel and its webs should not be underestimated. It's a similar scenario to fighting any other mage anti-PKer. Keep in tune with Spindel's attack cycle, watch your prayers and try to take momentum before catching them in the webs. One simple mistake can quickly change momentum or even the outcome of the fight. But we're not always going to have good RNG and we're not always going to win the freeze battle, so save your combo food for when you need it and don't leave it until too late if you need to escape, or you might just end up in a situation that you can't get yourself out of. But we can't win them all, so we say good fight and get back out there. And if everything goes our way instead, we can absolutely tear through our opponent. Here we've logged in on another PKer as they hop into the lair, but we're straight onto the hunt and chase them in. Looks like we might have spooked them as they're more interested in running rather than fighting back, but we catch them at the start of Spindel's magic phase as they catch us beside them and Spindel hits us with the web. The ancient Gourdsword is incredibly good in this situation, so we send our specs back to back and all that damage stacks up as we absolutely dismantle them after only hitting 34 raw damage. 5.7 mil loot with an extra 300k on top, just like that. Next up, we've logged into a world with the scout, so we rush in and catch them off guard. But midway through the hunt, another PKer decides to join us, so we let the PVMer go and pop a TB on the PKer. We'll want to play aggressively and take an early lead, so we catch our entangle right away to take control. We then get a massive bolt, so we follow it up with the AGS, but we hit low, so we hold off on the Gmaul. Much like fighting any other mage anti-PKer, when Spindel is ranging, we'll want to do our best to win the battle for momentum while taking any opportunity for a KO, and when Spindel is about to switch to magic, eat up and prepare for the webs. Our opponent keeps on splashing while wearing their ranged up as we catch our freeze at the perfect time. We come in close and pot up, getting a big bolt as the webs come down, followed up with the 65 AGS spec for the KO. Wrong place, wrong time, buddy. We have a cheeky laugh with the scout on the way out and he thanks us for sparing him. Should be thanking the other guy instead, but anyway, let's see what we get. A nice little 3 mil loot, can't complain. At level 29 Wilderness, this spot is fairly deep, so we don't find pures out here too often, but we did come across a few Zerker and med level PKers. Here on my pure, we've logged in to a Skuld level 93. I would have Skuld up myself, but say less, they're straight onto us and we get straight down to business. We catch a freeze and hit each other with a TB before starting to work them down. We hit an early spec to gain momentum and take a solid head start. We keep on working away while throwing out the occasional fakie to catch them off prayer and keep them on the back foot while trying to create an opportunity for a KO. Looks like we've got them venomed, which is a massive advantage for us in keeping momentum and especially outlasting them. We get a couple of decent surges and follow it up with a dagger spec, not quite getting a chance, but we've definitely burned through some of their combo food. When fighting outside of the lair, just about everything will block your line of sight, from the trees to the fence and even the tiny web patches. So use the environment to your advantage to avoid attacks and catch your breath when you need to. We send another dagger spec off the back of a venom stack, getting a low chance, but they're still kicking. They give it some legs as they start to go for the run south, but we keep up and keep on pressuring them. They're still hitting us back, so we make sure to keep on brewing to avoid getting countered out. We eventually catch another entangle and start standing under them between hits to avoid being frozen ourselves, since they might be looking for a freeze escape. We run ahead as they're about to be freed before locking them down with another entangle. We get a big ballista hit through prayer, followed up with a dagger spec, getting a massive chance, but we double it up and drop them to their knees. All for a cheeky 1.5 miller. And lastly, on the main we had a max combat voider log in on us. We get ready to rumble and pop our TB. A slow start as we splash a few times and we bonk them with our staff, but we eventually catch each other and start throwing down. A few misclicks to start off with, but it's all good. No one's perfect, now we lock in and start flicking our tank gear in between hits. We're unfrozen first, so we come in with a melee whack to mix things up, but we've had no luck so far. They catch another freeze as we finally get some damage in with our magic, but they get a heal off with their ancient gold sword spec as they switch into magic and catch us with a full TB. Fair play. We catch the next freeze and start using the gate to our advantage to flinch them and get a few extra hits in, but our damage is really letting us down so far. But it's all good, if we keep playing well and start catching them off prayer, the opportunities will come. They catch us with a freeze and start hitting us with a DD, so we just spam click them to get our bolts off while trying to predict prayers. We both get a big hit off on each other and both follow it up with an ancient gold sword spec, getting a fair chance on each other, but we both miss. Gotta love main pking. We hit a combo eat to get back to full HP, but they start coming through with some solid damage as we fail to catch a few freezes. We back away for a second and throw on our tank gear to catch our breath and avoid getting put in a bad spot. We catch another freeze before potting up and getting ourselves back into the fight. The fight's starting to open up now as we both start getting some hits in and momentum starts swinging back and forth. We're starting to get a bit low on supplies and we're back to full spec, so we're keen to go for something soon. We catch another freeze on each other and we hit our pods, getting ready to make a move. We keep flicking our tank gear in between surges and get two big hits back to back as they get a big bolt. They come in off the XP drop with their ancient gold sword, but we see it coming, put our protect on and send one right back at them. We claim ourselves 31 mil with an extra mil on top. Now that's what I'm talking about. And with that, we come to an end of how to PK the big 3 wilderness singles bosses. Cheers to everyone that's enjoyed the content, and a humble thank you to the legends that have liked and subscribed. Next up, we'll be turning the tables as we return to each boss to hunt them down, as well as any other PK that dares to try and stop us. I'll see you then. Peace.